The council spire hung in orbit of a red giant star like a shard of crystal thrust into blackness. Its spires twisted upward, vast windows shimmering with the light of civilizations gathered within. Hundreds of species had come, empires that measured time in millennia, fleets counted in thousands. And humanity, newly arrived on the galactic stage, was one delegation among giants. The Terran vessel docked without ceremony. Its hull bore no gleaming ornament, only the steel-gray scars of past wars. From it stepped the King of Earth, Alaric IV, clad in ceremonial armor forged from plates once worn in the unification battles of old. The crown he wore was simple iron, not gold, but its weight was heavier than the stars themselves. Behind him marched his guards and advisors, silent, tense, their boots ringing against the polished floors of the council chamber. The aliens stared. Some with amusement, some with curiosity, most with disdain. Humanity had no empire, no colonies beyond a handful of worlds, no fleets to rival the Titans here. Yet they had sent their sovereign, not a bureaucrat, not a general. Whispers rippled through the chamber. The youngest race on the frontier had come to face the oldest predator. At the center of the hall, upon a throne of black stone, sat High Warlord Cthor of the Kroth Dominion. His towering form was encased in barbed armor, mandibles clicking as he spoke. His voice carried like iron striking anvils. "Humans of Earth! You stand before the Dominion." He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "You are weak, untested, unworthy of the stars. We offer you a choice. Kneel, swear your species into servitude, and live as tools. Or resist, and burn in holy war. Choose quickly, for I tire of this farce." The chamber fell silent. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward Alaric. Some expected begging. Others, capitulation. Many anticipated nothing at all, for what could humans offer but words? Alaric stood motionless. His gaze swept the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of those who mocked him, those who pitied him, and finally the warlord who had demanded submission. He unfastened the clasp at his hip, drawing forth a blade. It was no futuristic weapon, but a sword, steel, hand-forged, ancient. The aliens hissed laughter. To them, it was primitive, almost pathetic. Then, before the assembly, Alaric gripped the edge of the blade and drew it across his palm. Blood welled bright and crimson, dripping onto the polished floor. The sound echoed faintly, each drop a drumbeat in the silence. He lifted his hand high, blood streaming down his wrist, and spoke. His voice was steady, deliberate. "You demand war. Then let the first blood be mine." He extended his arm, letting the blood splatter across the council's pristine surface. "Remember this day. Humanity bleeds first, but never last." The words struck the hall like thunder. Murmurs erupted instantly. Some delegates recoiled, appalled by the barbarity. Others sat frozen, stunned. A few leaned forward with sharp interest. None had expected such defiance. Cthor's mandibles flared wide in rage. He rose to his feet, towering above the chamber. "Insolent insect!" His claws scraped the armrest of his throne, gouging deep scars. "You mock the Dominion? You think your trick earns respect? I will see your species erased, your worlds consumed, your bones ground to dust beneath our fleets." Alaric lowered his hand, blood still dripping freely. His expression did not change. Calm, resolute, unwavering. "So be it." He sheathed the sword with a steady motion, then turned his back on the warlord. His guards followed, boots ringing again against the council floor. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alien voices clashed in overlapping languages, shock, anger, disbelief. Some demanded sanctions. Others whispered of madness, of courage. Few could agree, save on one truth: the humans had chosen war. As Alaric reached the chamber doors, one alien delegate, a frail avian scholar, called out in a trembling voice. "Why? Why spill your own blood when death waits at your gates?" Alaric paused only a moment, then spoke without looking back. "Because sacrifice is the crown of my people, and no tyrant can take what we give freely." The doors closed behind him. Silence fell for a long moment within the chamber, broken only by the furious scraping of Cthor's claws as he bellowed to his subordinates. Summon the fleets. Humanity dies. On board the Terran flagship Resolute Dawn, Alaric sat as the medics bound his hand. His advisors stood in a circle around him, their voices heated. You invited their wrath. One snapped. Do you understand what you've done? Billions will pay for this gesture. They already demanded war. Alaric replied quietly. His eyes never left the crimson-stained bandages. Words alone would not shift the tide. Blood speaks louder. Now every species here knows humanity does not bow. Another advisor shook his head in disbelief. They will call it madness. Let them, Alaric answered. He looked up, gaze steady, iron in his voice. Better madness than chains. Far across the spire, alien delegates whispered in private chambers. The Veil, traitors who thrived on neutrality, murmured of humanity's dangerous pride. The Athari, ancient scholars, debated whether such sacrifice could rally allies. The Ishak, predators themselves, chuckled in admiration at the audacity. And even among the Dominion's rivals, unease spread. Because in one simple act, the King of Earth had twisted the meaning of war. It would no longer be conquest against a minor race. It would be the slaughter of a people who bled willingly, whose monarch had shed his own blood before a single soldier fell. Alaric stood alone at the viewport of his ship, hands still aching beneath its wrappings. The stars stretched endless beyond him, cold and unfeeling. Yet he did not feel small. He felt the weight of a world at his back, billions of voices who would see his gesture, who would know their king bled first so that they might bleed together. War was inevitable. Death certain. But in his veins ran not despair, but resolve. Humanity had entered the galaxy not with weapons raised, nor with treaties offered. They had entered with sacrifice, carved into flesh. Behind him, the admiral of the fleet entered quietly. Majesty, she said, bowing her head, your blood has already begun to stir the people. Broadcasts of the council spread faster than light. On Earth, there are those already cutting their palms in solidarity. Alaric exhaled slowly. His eyes never left the stars. Then it has begun. We bleed first. He clenched his bandaged fist. But never last. The chamber's echoes still haunted the fleet as the Terran flagship cut free of the council spire. Alaric remained at the command deck, hand-wrapped, gaze fixed on the starfields. Reports poured in like tidal waves, alien delegates arguing, Dominion fleets mobilizing, news streams exploding across neutral networks. His single act had ignited the galaxy. Admiral Soren, scarred and weathered from Earth's final unification wars, broke the silence. Majesty, you have bound us to the path of war. There is no retreat now. His voice carried no accusation, only grim fact. Alaric did not turn from the viewport. They offer no path but chains. I gave them blood so they would remember we are not chattel. One advisor snapped, anger finally spilling. And if your gesture only hastens our annihilation? The Dominion has fleets older than our nation. They will crush us. The king turned, eyes steady. Perhaps. But conquest without fear is routine to them. Now they know we are not routine. Messages streamed into the Resolute Dawn. Delegates from neutral species sent veiled inquiries, curiosity mixed with disbelief. A transmission from the Athari scholars flickered onto the bridge. A pale, crystalline figure bowed its head. Young king. The voice trembled like glass struck gently. Your gesture was unprecedented. Many call it barbaric. Yet some among us see it as sacred defiance. Do you truly mean to fight a war you cannot win? Alaric answered without hesitation. I mean to fight so they cannot call us slaves. If that means death, then it is death with meaning. The Othari's crystalline face shimmered uncertainly before the transmission cut. Far across space, the Dominion's fury boiled. High Warlord Cthor convened his generals aboard the massive dreadnought Crownbreaker. His voice shook the chamber. The human dares mock the Dominion before all. They think blood spilled willingly gives them strength. We will drown their world in it until the oceans are red. The Dominion generals slammed claws against armored chests, chanting their vow of extermination. Orders were issued. Armadas moved. Humanity had become the next holy war. On Earth, the reaction was immediate, electric. The footage of Alaric's blood offering blazed across every colony feed, every city square, every orbital platform. At first there was disbelief. Then came silence. And then came the knives. Across the cities of Earth, men and women drew blades across their palms. Farmers in the plains of New Africa cut their hands in the dust. Engineers aboard Martian domes pressed bloody palms against steel. Miners in the belt raised callous fists streaked red. The word spread like a storm, "We bleed first." In crowded stations, children repeated the gesture with shallow scratches, mimicking their king. Soldiers training in the orbital barracks stood in formation, palms bleeding as they swore oaths. Humanity, fragmented for centuries, suddenly moved as one. In the fleet's war council, the mood was divided. Holographic projections of Earth's orbital defenses glimmered above the table, mass drivers dormant for decades, planetary cannons still half buried, fleets scattered and under strength. Admiral Soren spoke first. "We can fortify Sol, but we cannot withstand the full Dominion. Their armadas number in the thousands. We number in the dozens." Another general leaned forward. "Then we bleed them with every inch. If they want a holy war, let it cost them holy sacrifice." Silence followed until Alaric stood. His voice cut through the tension. "You are right. We cannot match their fleets. But we do not need to match them. We must terrify them. Our strength is not in numbers but in resolve. Every man, woman, and child is already pledged. The blood you see is proof." Soren frowned. "Resolve alone does not stop plasma fire." "No," Alaric said, "but it changes how enemies see us. Empires that crush compliant prey will find humans fight like wolves. Fear is a weapon we can wield." The council fell quiet. For the first time, the impossible war felt survivable, not by victory in numbers, but by victory of spirit. That night aboard the Resolute Dawn, Alaric allowed himself solitude. His hand ached from the cut, but he refused to let the medics dull the pain. He stood before the viewport, watching Earth's blue curve as the ship entered orbit. A voice interrupted him. Lady Mara, his oldest friend and confidant, approached softly. "You carry the burden of billions, Alaric. You bled to prove a point, but do you fear you've doomed us?" He glanced at her, weary yet firm. "Every night I fear it. But if we surrendered, what would be left? Existence without dignity is not survival, it is captivity." She studied him, eyes sharp. "And you believe sacrifice alone will hold the galaxy at bay?" He closed his fist slowly. "No. Sacrifice is not enough. But it is the language tyrants cannot understand. That is why it terrifies them." Days later, Earth stirred with war. Orbital cannons, silent relics of past conflicts, roared back to life. Crews tested ancient weapons, engineers reinforced planetary shields, shipyards ran unceasing. Fleets, though smaller, grew sharper, each vessel commanded by captains who knew they were outnumbered yet unbowed. Across colonies, volunteers swelled recruitment lines. Entire cities pledged themselves. On Europa, miners who had never seen battle took oaths as soldiers. On Mars, entire domes marched in military drills. Everywhere, the phrase had become a creed, "We bleed first." Alaric stood before a vast assembly in Earth's capital, his voice carried across networks to colonies and ships alike. "My people," he began, hands still wrapped in bandages. "My blood was first. Not for spectacle, not for vanity, but to show the galaxy we will not kneel. They believe us fragile. They believe us divided. But now we are one, bound by sacrifice. When the Dominion comes, they will find not prey, but a people who bleed together. And know this, your king bleeds so yours is not wasted. We bleed first, but never last." The roar of the crowd shook the city. Across space, millions echoed the cry. Beyond Sol, the alien empires watched. Some dismissed humanity as reckless, a candle against the storm. But others whispered uneasily. To bleed willingly was alien to them, Sacrifice was not strategy in their worlds, but weakness. Yet humans had turned it into a banner. And a banner raised high could rally allies, even in shadows. In the Dominion's war chambers, Thor prepared his armada, snarling at reports of humans cutting themselves in unison. "Fanatics," he hissed. "They think blood frightens us. We will show them rivers of it." But in his eyes lingered something he would never admit. A flicker of unease. The fleet orbited Earth like a crown of steel as preparations continued. Alaric returned to the command deck, watching the growing armada. He flexed his hand, the scar throbbing with each heartbeat. Admiral Soren approached, voice low. "Your gesture has bound the people, Majesty. They follow you with fire in their eyes. But know this, when the first volley strikes, your presence on the line will matter more than any cannon." Alaric nodded, never looking away from the stars. "Then I will be there. My blood was first. I will see it through." The edge of Sol burned with alien light. Beyond Neptune, the stars shifted under the arrival of the Dominion's armada. Thousands of warships formed a wall of steel and fire, their hulls etched with scars of conquered worlds. Their banners filled the void, emblems of dominion, conquest, inevitability. Within that black expanse floated humanity's defense. A fraction in size, scattered fleets drawn together, ships old and scarred but alive with determination. Orbital cannons anchored near Jupiter hummed as reactors surged awake. The system itself bristled like a fortress awakening from centuries of sleep. On the flagship Resolute Dawn, King Alaric stood at the central dais, surrounded by his admirals. His hand, still scarred from the blood offering, gripped the railing. No crown weighed his head now. Only duty. Admiral Soren spoke with grim steadiness. "They come in numbers beyond counting. Our flanks cannot hold under direct assault." Alaric's eyes did not leave the holographic map of Sol. "Then we make the cost too great. Wolves do not chase prey when prey fights with teeth." The comms officer's voice broke through. "Incoming transmission from the Dominion flagship." The screen flickered, revealing High Warlord Thor, towering upon his throne of blades, mandibles clashing in disdain. His voice thundered across the channel. "Human King," he sneered, "your defiance amuses me. Do you believe your blood makes you strong? I will burn your world until even its ashes beg for mercy." Alaric's reply was calm, unshaken. "You see only weakness because you cannot imagine sacrifice. That is why you will fail. You conquer flesh. But you cannot conquer resolve." Thor's mandibles clicked in fury. "Your kind will choke on their own screams." Alaric leaned forward slightly. "And you will choke on our blood." The transmission cut. Silence fell across the bridge, heavy, electric. Then alarms screamed. The first wave had entered firing range. The void erupted. Dominion warships surged forward, their weapons carving streaks of fire through the dark. Plasma torrents hammered at human lines. Yet Earth's defenses answered with thunder. The ancient orbital cannons near Jupiter awoke, firing kinetic slugs the size of towers. The projectiles tore through Dominion cruisers, ripping holes in their perfect formations. Smaller human frigates darted like wolves, weaving through fire, striking vulnerable engines, vanishing before retaliation. On the bridge, orders flowed like steel. Soren barked commands, officers relayed, ships moved with ruthless efficiency. Yet even with every maneuver, the weight of numbers pressed harder. Screens flared with red as human vessels fell, their crews lost in silence. Alaric stood firm. "Report. Losses mounting," came the reply. "But morale unbroken. Civilians broadcast across channels, chants of 'we bleed first' echo system-wide." A flicker of pride crossed Alaric's features. "Then we fight with more than ships. We fight with will." In the Dominion's formation, confusion stirred. Reports flooded their channels, human ships refusing surrender, ramming Dominion cruisers when crippled, soldiers boarding with knives when ammunition failed. One Dominion commander hissed, "They are not fighting to survive, they fight to bleed." Another spat, "Fanatics. Their king poisons them with madness." Yet in their voices lingered something new, unease. Aboard the Resolute Dawn, Alaric walked the bridge, speaking not only to admirals but to the soldiers who listened through open channels. Remember, his voice carried through calms, steady, human, real. I bled first so you would know what we are. Every life taken, every ship lost, binds us tighter. The Dominion believes war is theirs alone. Today we teach them it belongs to those who endure. Across fleets, soldiers tightened grips on controls, voices rising as they repeated the words. In cabins, cockpits, gunnery bays, the chant began. We bleed first. Never last. The second wave struck harder. Dominion dreadnoughts advanced, massive cannons glowing, their barges smashing through defenses. Human vessels broke, split, burned. Yet every time a ship died, its last act was defiance. Detonations triggered deliberately to take enemies with them, ramming maneuvers that shredded both hulls. Death was no surrender, it was a weapon. Admiral Soren turned to Alaric, eyes fierce. Majesty, we cannot match this slaughter. But your presence here has changed them. They fight as if immortal. Alaric nodded. His gaze was cold fire. Because they see my blood as their oath. As long as I stand, they will not falter. Then the Dominion flagship loomed, crown breaker, massive and bristling with weapons. Its silhouette swallowed the stars. A single volley from its guns could cripple Earth's defenses. Cthor's voice thundered again, broadcast across all channels. Human King, watch as I tear your world apart. Alaric stood tall at the center of the bridge. He opened the comms, every soldier, every civilian tuned to hear. You think you face prey. But know this, humanity does not run. We are not here to beg survival. We are here to show the galaxy what it means to stand. You will not break us. For every drop of blood you spill, 10 more rise in its place. We bleed first, but never last. The words rolled like a storm. Across Earth, colonies, ships, the chant rose louder, millions of voices roaring the same defiance. The Dominion launched its strike. Plasma lances ripped toward Earth. But the orbital cannons roared back, intercepting, smashing dreadnoughts before they reached firing range. Human ships threw themselves between barrages and the planet, shields flaring, hulls breaking, crews dying willingly. The first Dominion line faltered. For the first time in centuries, their advance slowed. Cthor's command deck erupted with discord. His generals roared, demanding explanations. Soldiers whispered uneasily. If even their king fights on the line, how many more will die gladly? Cthor silenced them with fury. They are nothing but vermin clinging to rocks. Yet his mandibles clicked with a rhythm his generals recognized, rage laced with doubt. On Resolute Dawn, alarms blared. The ship shook under a direct hit, metal screaming. Crew members steadied themselves, eyes fixed on their king. Alaric rose from where he had been thrown, blood staining his temple. He ignored it, voice ringing clear. Steady. Hold the line. Let them see that even wounded, we do not break. The ship's guns roared anew, blasting into the void, hammering Dominion vessels that pressed closer. The battle raged into hours. Humanity bled, ship after ship falling, yet never retreating. And with each loss, Dominion resolve frayed. Reports spread among their fleets. Humans did not fear death, their monarch fought alongside them, and their chant carried louder than any weapon. At last, Dominion forces pulled back to regroup. The first assault had not broken soul. Humanity stood battered, scarred, but unyielding. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, silence fell as alarms dimmed. Smoke curled in the air. Survivors sagged in exhaustion, but eyes turned to Alaric.